the explosions. It's hydrogen and oxygen. There is a belief that this area here, that is just a shelter here on top of the reactor building itself, that blew. Explosion number 1, the first explosion, was pretty clean, as you have all seen. Then explosion number 2, that was much bigger, and I am hoping that the reactor itself has not damaged by that. And as I have the pools themselves not damaged by those explosions. One thing to have in mind, if you look close to reactor building number 2, it's very close to both of it's in the middle of 1 and 3, and the damage from explosion is very little on reactor number 2. So though those explosions have been very massive, how strong were they in fact? About hydrogen and oxygen, the stuff itself is very clean, but it is coming from a nuclear reactor, and so how much radiation stuff has it have been in it? Explosion number 3, it happened in the basement of number 2. As far as I know, it happened in this section. It's outside of the reactor itself, but what exactly that means, how much is the damage, I don't know. As you have heard, the report was that they had just heard the explosion in number 2. There has been reports of fourth explosion. I have almost no information on that. Some say that happened in number 4 and was not very big. You have to, if you look at number 4, it is very damaged, and it got fired 2 times. So all the damage is not on reactor number 4 building, is not caused from explosion. Then I'm going to show you, just to figure the size once more. If you look at this here on the top of the reactor itself, I'm going to show you a little video that was taken on inspection. I believe it was in this power plant, Fukushima. Just note how little the guys are compared to this. So when you look at that, have in mind all this. Okay.
This is what a nuclear reactor looks like. The uranium inside the fuel rod inside the reactor undergoes nuclear fission.
就算係犧牲性命，佢哋都在所不計。呢班死士稱為福島50人，佢哋用最原始嘅方法灌海水，令到反應堆降溫。
About the thing I was talking about, that people in hard-hit areas could maybe do to make their life a little bit easier, is all around getting them some fuel and using the cars that are trashed everywhere. This is a car here, okay. What they can do is take those, I've seen news footage of cars laying all around just like trash. In those cars are fuel. Okay, what they have to do is take the cars. Thankfully, many cars in Japan is light, so it makes the job easier.
They have to lift the cars up, put something under, lift it. Few people could do that. Remember, there is full of tools in the back of many of those cars. I mean, screwdrivers and things like that. Use the screwdriver. If they have an axe or a mining axe or something like that, it's easier to make a hole in the gas tank. Open first the where you fill car up, and they can also see there if it is a diesel or a gasoline or whatever, if they're not sure what they're getting out. Okay, this fuel is probably full of mud and seawater, but the thing is, seawater and mud is heavier than gasoline. So, okay, what I'm going to explain, they have to put a hole in the gas tank. They have to have buckets ready to take the fuel out. If they keep the fuel in buckets for some time, the seawater will go on the bottom and also the mud in most of it. Then they have to have some spoon or something to take. Do not you know, empty the bucket like this. They have to filter it. They can use air filter that is inside here. This is extremely this is emergency situation, and this is just one idea, as I said. As soon as they have fuel, if they can find an old car that does not use coded keys, probably cars before 98, 99, something like that. Some of Japanese cars from that era, they are very easy to start with just putting screwdrivers in, and yeah. And it is really easy to wire cars to start, like thief. I'm not going to show you how it's done here, because I know the knowledge is in Japan to do that, and they would spread it to the people that need it. As soon as they can get engine running, I mean, the car can be completely destroyed. As soon as they can get engine running, just remember to check out the air intake. That there can't be no mud in there. There cannot be any water. They can use the engine as a generator. They can find more car batteries and recharge them, and they could take the light bulbs out of the lights, and this is all 12 volts systems in normal cars usually, and they just connect. Then there is full of wires inside cars that they could use, speaker wires that they could use to transfer electricity, and they could maybe have light inside some of those shelters. Another thing, they could take radio out of cars, they could take speakers out, and they could connect it, and they would have a radio, and they could hear what is happening. Also, if they could find cars, they could find a car. I mean, it could be massive to have a car somewhere in really hot areas. Even though they would not find a car that is drivable, but the engine would work and the heater would work, they could put a car beside some shelter, have it running, and they could connect with some junk from the heaters. inside the shelters. I mean, I believe that Japanese people have the knowledge to do all of this. This is, as I say, this is ideal, and I hope this will help people. Thank you. One more little thing about doing this. This fuel is very dirty, and running the cars well is not good for the engine. But as I say, this is emergency. If people could take fuel filters from other cars and put them extra, and they would be able to change them on a regular basis, I would recommend that. As I say, use the tools that are inside the cars, and I want to thank one person here in the end. His username on YouTube is Playback Clampomp. It's a French guy that is in Tokyo and have been uploading videos on how little information people in Japan have been getting. Watching his videos have encouraged me to make this video.